Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. We are live at Community News. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Community News, for having us here again today. We are 1 week after our primary election. This is Johnny Farias, your host, and I am here with Commander Phil Ehr, a candidate, and also someone that would love to talk about what's going on and what he thinks about the results. And we have on Zoom Melba Pearson, who'll be joining us now also, because at the same time, first to go over one important thing, because Melba is a very busy person. I want to make sure that we cover some a topic of DSA, which is people are calling it the Democratic Socialist of America. Melba, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Johnny. How you doing, my friend?
Man, I am doing excellent. I'm excited. I'm excited for the elections. I'm excited for what's coming up. I'm excited for Phil, who didn't have a primary, and we're going to general. Phil, how are you doing, Commander?
I'm doing great, Johnny. Thank you for having me. Looking forward. Let's dive right into these controversial and really critical topics.
Yes, we are. So before we get into the results and stuff, I want to talk about DSA, Democratic Socialist of America. Now, to be clear, none of us here are speaking for DSA. None of us are DSA. Anyway, I imagine none of us are. I know I'm not. I am a blue dog Democrat. Just for transparency, I am. But now, Melba, tell us about this DSA thing. Why are people using it? Why is this label so important that we stay away from, so people understand that that it's just a label? It's not actually what people are doing. Talk to us.
Yeah, so the Republicans especially have been hammering that the Democratic Party has now fallen into socialism and all of this. In my opinion, it is a scare tactic, because a lot of people hear the term socialism and freak out thinking, first of all, that socialism is communism, which it isn't. But also, secondly, we've seen how socialism has gone awry in certain South American countries. And so since we have such a huge immigrant population here, folks would immediately be like, oh my God, socialism, it was horrible in my country. We can't have that here. So, but the thing that folks don't realize is, number one, a lot of the issues with the socialist governments was more tied to corruption than it was the actual platform thereof of socialism, right? It's human frailties in terms of, I'm going to take all these resources and give it to my friends and my family and that sort of thing. When we're talking about socialism here in America, first of all, where do you think we got the term social security? Right? Like these are what they're talking about are social programs where, if you think in Canada, right? Yeah, their taxes are higher, but you can go to the doctor, you can get surgery, all of that, and that is included. It is free. You don't have to pay out of pocket for healthcare, right? We're looking at issues in terms of voting. So one of the part of the platform of DSA is expanding voting to all, making sure like, hey, you turn 18, you immediately are registered to vote. Election day is a holiday, making it easier for people to participate in democracy. So that whole screaming socialism label is not what it's being held out to be. They're talking about affordability, which are issues that every single Floridian, every single person around the country is dealing with, right? Because gas is high, eggs are high, chicken's high. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, everything is high.
Everything is high, right? So they're talking about, how are we making sure that people are getting an affordable wage to be able to pay their bills? What are we doing in terms of housing? Making sure that corporations are staying out of housing and that they're not buying up a whole bunch of properties to turn into Airbnbs, right? And making sure that the average person can actually live somewhat close to where they work, right? And not have to commute from 3 counties over.
Right. Which I have a question. Now you say that. Byron Donalds he's talking about that also. So does that make him a socialist?
And that's the thing, right? Because again, that's why I always say, ignore the labels, look at the platform. Yeah, I don't care how you identify. What do you plan to do if you are elected? Period of the story.
Yes, and you know what? I did some homework. I looked it up, and some of the things, and I asked Gemini. I'm a big Gemini person. I asked Gemini, give me the good and the bad of what people are saying about DSA. And I put exactly Democrats of America. And it said the good things are that it organizes lots of volunteers and activists around labor rights, which, hey, I'm an electrician. I'm a blue-collar worker. Labor is important to us. I think it should be important to everybody, what party you come from. And as a veteran, I mean, that's we put in a lot of labor, because people think that because you're a veteran, you got to, while you're waiting for orders, you're out there cleaning, doing things that are not normally in your, rate, but you got to help out no matter what. Housing, healthcare, and anti-poverty politics. And supporters say it gives younger and working class people a way to get involved in politics outside the normal party system. So, I mean, if you think about it, both parties are speaking about that. Mm-hmm. So I feel, in my opinion, again, that I think they're using this as a scare tactic, like he said, because it's the only thing they have left. Okay, they've done ruined and run out on the abortion thing, because they played that out now and it backfired on them. Now they can't use that. The immigration thing backfired out of them too, because they see that Hispanics is a big voting bloc. You're getting rid of the people actually doing the work out there. So that's backfired on them. So what they have left is the socialist thing. And then when you look at it, I'm only talking about the state of Florida. Okay, 4.9 million residents, and this is people that vote. I'm not talking about non-voters, voting people that are registered to vote. Out of the 13.4 million registered voters, 4.9 million are on Social Security, which is a socialist program. 5.2 million are on Medicare, which is also a socialist program. 4.2 million of those are on Medicaid, which the city of Hialeah is the biggest Medicaid user in the country. Mm-hmm. And the SNAP, 2.8 million. And something that I did not know, that farm subsidies and the FEMA relief is also a social program. So when there's a storm and all these farms need the money to repair, to replace, to keep growing, it's, according to this, is a socialist program. Again, I'm not an expert. I only go by what I pulled out and what I read. I let the experts, but I mean, and because I'm not an expert, if someone else has an opinion on this and wants to correct it, please feel free, jump on, let us know. But as far as I see, that's what this is. Phil, what do you think about this?
Well, I have some things to say, and I will come at it with a completely different perspective, with all due respect here. I completely reject socialism. I completely reject the DSA label, and words do matter. Words matter in the context of the people in South Florida who have been ripped apart, their families torn apart down in Cuba, in Venezuela, an entire economy destroyed by socialism ideology as practiced and as coming out of this academic thought that you and I and Melba have kind of started here. But But the people of South Florida do not want socialism. I do not want socialism. We are being destroyed from within by labels. Yes, it's a tactic and it's a scare tactic, but guess what? It has reality. It has reality on the people whose door I knock on, and they come out and they start talking to me about being their brothers and families continuing to starve and die in portions of Venezuela or Cuba. These sentiments are real, and we can have an academic discussion about this, that, and the other thing, and try to put this word socialism as it's applied in Northern Europe or in Canada or even here in the United States with Social Security and these other programs. But it is wrong to think that the label does not matter. The label has a visceral meaning of life and death, of starvation and cruelty that I completely reject. So in my campaign and for my people that I'm going to be representing in Congress, I'm going to destroy communism, and I'm going to destroy that portion of thought that is branded DSA and is branded socialism that leads to the slide we see in in Venezuela, the slide we saw now starting to turn around in Colombia, and the destruction of Cuba.
Okay.
The socialist kind of programs that have grown up in the Nordic states and Northern Europe come from a completely different angle, and that is something that we have in our country a little bit, and which is capitalism. We have a lot of capitalism here. I'm in the lane of political and economic votes in the Congress when I assume my role in the next Congress to be a capitalist with rules, with rules that do not exploit workers, with rules that make sure there is a safety net for dignity all across our economy.
As a business owner, I'm considered a capitalist. I believe I'm a capitalist. I'm a business owner.
It would be much more productive, Johnny, for us to talk about capitalism than go into socialism.
Tell me, what do you think about what Phil just said? Give me your opinion on that.
But I mean, it's like you're trying to have it both ways, right? You want to have the socialism without the label. And again, the issues in Colombia, in Venezuela, in Cuba, it's not socialism. That's the issue. It's the leaders that are corrupt. It's the leaders that have been mismanaging. It's the leaders that have been stealing. Socialism is not the problem. The people are. And so again, I understand the visceral reaction and all of that, but I just want to caution, because I heard the same kind of language coming from David Jolly, our nominee for governor. Just remember, there are a huge chunk of Floridians, myself included, who voted for Angie Nixon not because of the socialism label, but because what she centered in her campaign, which was the affordability issue, which is making sure that people had health care, that kids aren't, going hungry. Those are the things that are important. And again, if we want to start using the Republican talking points of socialism, this, we're falling into the trap. We need to be talking about the kitchen table issues that the people of Florida, that the people of America care about. And they don't care socialism or not. They want to know what's going on in their bank account. They want to know why that paycheck is not cutting it at Publix anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, and we hear it time and time again. And hello, Mr. Manny, welcome to the show,
Commander.
So, yes, we hear that a lot, particularly from party leadership, and this is the big debate within the party to which I affiliate. Look, the corruption is the central issue. I agree with that. There's corruption all across, and my platform and my promise over and over again is to fight it locally, to fight it state, and to fight it in Washington, D.C. That's one thing. But let us not, and I recognize that Representative Nixon received a lot of votes, and Colonel Vindman did not execute a ground game in this contest, this primary contest, that was worthy of almost anything, not worthy of his donors, not worthy of his heritage, not worthy of his patriotism. Those are things that I still admire. And within my congressional district, the 28th, I will just note that Colonel Vindman received a decisive win over Representative Nixon. And that didn't happen in other parts of the state. It didn't happen where there was a good ground game, or a honed ground game. So let us not confuse, certainly from my perspective, let us not confuse her win for a public voter level embrace of the DSA or socialism. It's not happening in South Florida in my district.
Really quick, I want to welcome Manny Gutierrez, campaign consultant and a political somebody that I admire a lot, that has a lot of political knowledge. Because you want to know something about anywhere in the country, call Manny. Manny, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Commander.
So tell me, jump in real quick. You heard a little bit what's going on. What you got to say about this?
So I think I came in on the tail end of what Melba was saying. They have nowhere to go.
That is true.
They have nowhere to go. The economy is in disaster. Health in this country is declining. We have outbreaks all over the place. The deficit has ballooned because we have to give $298 billion back because the president illegally put tariffs on people. Now, the American people are speaking all over this country. And it is, I'm going to say it as nice as I can say it, it is selfish to not hear what the American people are saying all over this country. And I know that you're running in a district that I live in.
Yes.
However, this is about the country. This is not about individuals. And I believe the same thing that Donald Trump sold to people in 2016, in 2020, and in 2024 are the same things that people are looking for. It's just that he couldn't deliver. He couldn't deliver because he never wanted to deliver. He wanted to give money to his friends, tax breaks, and corruption. So I think as a party, as a people, we need to deliver on the things that we already believe in.
Absolutely. So my opponent is Carlos Giménez, who's supporting a lot of policies of chaos and incompetence that has raised the cost of property insurance, that has raised the cost of gasoline and these trade wars. It's in the news now because Canada is just retaliating, dollar for dollar on a big trade war. Look, that is completely wrong, and Carlos Giménez is silent. So I agree with you that it is affordability, and I agree with Melba and you when you say that that they have nowhere else to go. That is correct, and I do not want to give them an inch of traction in my district because it is for the country on the scare tactics. But the way to combat it, I don't believe, is to succumb to it, is to tolerate those associations with the prison island that is Cuba. Don't even flirt with those folks, and this is why I reject the DSA, and this is why I reject socialism as it's understood in my district. And we can have a debate, and you can say, well, your understanding is wrong. My people understand it completely.
Okay. Before we get back to mobile, I just want to note that today I read that now Canada is retaliating with a tariff also because of what Donald Trump is doing.
Right.
Just So, Melba, tell us.
Well, I got to give the final word here because unfortunately I got to love you and leave you. But I just want to point to my home state of New York. Now, I was born and raised in New York. I've spent, a good chunk of my professional career in Florida. We're talking decades, right? But I look at what Mayor Mamdani's doing. And they talk about him like he's the boogeyman. He's the socialist, da-da-da. But he just, in the last few weeks, he opened an office of deed theft, where it was addressing the issue of elderly New Yorkers who were getting their houses basically taken out from under them. And he realized it was such a problem and impacting, basically elderly people being thrown out on the street after they've paid their mortgage, done everything they were supposed to do, that he created an office to address that. He just started a program where for 4 hours every Friday night, parents can drop off their kids for free daycare so that they can go on date night, run errands, take a nap, whatever, right? So he went after Amazon because they had millions in unpaid fees because of them parking every which way, right? And jacking up traffic. And nobody ever bothered to be like, hey, Amazon, you got this outstanding bill. Can you pay it back, right? Because they're like, oh, no, it's a corporation. We can't ask them for anything. They create jobs, right? But now he got millions of dollars in revenue for the city that he can invest in programs that make the city better, that reduce crime, right? So when you think about these things, again, they want us to be focused on the label, to be scared, and not actually look at what these folks are trying to deliver. And if folks could just open their eyes and look at what these platforms are, and I'm not saying that you have to go sign up, right? Because I am not a member of DSA. I'm not going to reject them out of hand just because I see some things in their platform that make sense and that are aligned with the broader Democratic Party. We've been saying Medicare for all forever. We've been saying that people need affordable housing. We've been saying all that. So to turn around and be like, oh, I reject that, again, is playing into their narrative. So let's educate people. Let's be like, listen, you want affordable housing? Here's the pathway to get it. This is what we can do once we earn your vote and once we get into Congress, Senate, whatever the case may be. So folks, just do your research. Do your research and don't just assume or, follow a talking point. Look at the platforms of the people that are running and take that into consideration before you vote, rather than just right off the rip, oh, they're labeled as such and such, I'm not even going to look at them, because you could be voting against your own interests.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Melba. I know you got to go. Hopefully we have another show. We can get you in here.
Sounds good. Take care, my friends.
All right.
All right. So what she said was connections. What I heard was the strong, success of Mayor Mamdani connecting with people in New York on practical solutions. I don't know that particular policy. I don't know he's paying for it. That's fine. He and the people of New York City will figure that out. Or maybe they are figuring it out. I don't know. But what I like about any public servant is the connection. And the connection is the main thing. That's what I think Melba was saying is
Right.
her central point. But she's also saying we've been fighting for these things all along. I haven't been fighting for Medicare for all. No, I have not. And as a matter of fact, I've rejected it I've rejected it because I didn't understand where the money would come from. In a place where we have, $40 trillion in national debt, we need to get our hands around those practical economic things at the macro level, like the debt, like the affordability of housing insurance, healthcare, groceries, etc. And those are the things where the capitalist approach, regulated to a reasonable extent for the normal guy on the street, the woman on the street, that's where we need to focus our energy. Doing research on the DSA. Well, to take that mantle and say, like Rep. Nixon is doing, here's the DSA. I mean, she's going to develop her campaign, fine. And the candidate, David Jolly, is figuring out how to work with that on a consolidated ticket. Well, I don't think I'm part of a consolidated ticket. I am my own man. I am working to, aspiring to represent the people in one district, not the nation, one district, with my best judgment, but one district, and that's here in South Florida. Look at what the DSA publishes at the national level, and you'll see defund things. You'll see abolish some of the principles of checks and balances in our Constitution. Those political, written down, published, reaffirmed lately platform items are things that, yes, I've heard Representative Nixon say she doesn't want this, she doesn't want that. Okay, then in balance, you say you want it both ways. You want the excitement of some fad DSA that is dangerous and undermining the foundation of our Constitution.
Manny, I see you itching there to say something. Let's go. Talk to us.
So
how do you feel?
My mom just turned 81 on Saturday. I love her to death. Outside of my daughters, she's it. And I don't agree with her 100% of the times. So if I can't agree with the one person in this world that I love the most, you're never going to agree with every platform. Matter of fact, I was a DNC delegate in 2024, and I looked at the platform, and I disagreed with some of it. However, I'm an 80-20 type of person. But let me point something else out. You said something that caught my ear.
Okay.
And it's a false narrative. Government has the money to do whatever it wants. It is just the will of the people that are allocating the money. We can see it right now. They spent $2 trillion on tax cuts for the richest people in the world. You got balls. You got little gold horses in Washington, D.C. They fixing a pool. It's priorities. So I don't ever want to hear that we can't give Americans health care, food stamps for the people that need it the most. It's a false narrative. Yes, $40 trillion is abhorrent. But you know what? Since Ronald Reagan, the only people that reduce the deficits are Democrats. Every Republican since Reagan has ballooned the deficit.
And part of my healthcare is centered on an act that has substance to it, which is the Healthcare Stabilization and Program Choice Act. It's taking essentially many of the proposals we've been talking about in the public square for a long time, of transparency, of competition, of making sure of portability, of making sure that you have access to a doctor, and actually getting those done with the new Congress, and that is my focus. Those types of rather than a single payer system. I don't agree with a single payer system right now. And the reason I don't is because an enduring system is something that gains bipartisan support. We still have a fractured country, and we still have a very contentious, broken Congress. What we can do in my act is to get the healthcare costs down with having honest discussions and negotiations with folks who just would rather say, hey, if you're sick, you're on your own. No, that's not it. We need to have health care for everyone, affordable for everyone, but not just given to everyone. Given to someone means somebody still has to pay, and that is the capitalist talking point.
Well,
the capitalist talking point says there is a price for service, and that price for service need to be borne by both individuals and society. We have a public interest in making sure the public is healthy. So it's not a cut and dry solution.
No, I'm not married to any plan.
Mm-hmm.
What I am married to is we got to get this done because the American people are screaming at us, at both parties, whatever you want to call them.
Right. And
we have to get it done.
Absolutely.
But I have something to say about this healthcare thing. I'm not on board with the universal health care either. I want to tell you why. As a business owner and as a blue collar worker, I've seen and I've done it myself where I've gone to work with a fever. I've gone to work, sick because we can't afford to miss a day.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think even if we had all that health care, we still wouldn't go because we're more worried about, putting food on the table, paying our rent, our mortgage, our light, our car, our insurance. That to us is more important than having to go to, to a doctor to see what's going on with us. Unfortunately, I've seen it.
Yeah.
I still see it, literally. So I think we should be focused more on getting people a better wage. More of a living wage, where people can afford these things. More jobs, better jobs to come down to South Florida. I think I would more concentrate than trying to get universal health care, in my opinion. That's where I stand. I'm not speaking for anybody else, not even for the party. This is John speaking.
And you're talking a lot about labor unions.
Yes.
I'm proud to be endorsed by a local labor union in the building trades, the IBEW local here in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they're doing that is because they recognize that I come from the United States Navy, as you do, and as you do, where we take care of ourselves. We take care of ourselves as a crew, as a family underway at sea, and extended to our families who are left behind as
Manny,
we're deployed.
But
I disagree with both of you.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Because what we're doing is giving a false choice to people. The VA has the second highest budget in the federal government. And that's a socialized system.
In discretionary spending?
It's the only other department is the Department of Defense. Now, do we want not to take care of our veterans?
We must take better care of our veterans.
Okay. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because we need to talk about a holistic approach, right? Johnny said that, people will go to work sick because they have to put food on the table. But that's a problem. It's called enhancing FMLA, enhancing sick leave for people. One thing we do know, every successful company tells you a workforce that's healthy is more productive.
Yeah.
So, these are false narratives. We have the wherewithal in this country to provide for people at the bottom because we must. And as a service member, to me, $1 trillion of the Department of Defense, it is unbelievable.
It's just this. It's not just the bloated defense budget. It is the priorities within it from a Congress that is not understanding the future of warfare, the present of warfare. Yeah. Else we would have been on top of on top of the drone war, on top of the electronic warfare that goes along with that, in top of the
Instead of buying
information,
Abraham tanks.
that sort of thing, right? So our force is in many respects obsolete. Yes, there's a lot of savings that can be done. And again, back to my opponent, Carlos Giménez, he's on the House Armed Services Committee. He's responsible for the lack of care that we see on the USS Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, and many other things that have reduced readiness, reduced our capability to defend the United States. And it's just terrible. But back to healthcare. Healthcare for the American people is mandatory. It is a baseline for what we need, and it's a question, I believe, of approach. Are we going to provide it with a single payer system, or are we going to provide it with capitalistic competition, inherent competition, to get rid of the monopolies that come from hospitals to doctors to clinics to prescription benefit advisors, without the transparent billing. The transparent billing is one of the items in my bill that needs to be addressed in a
Manny
past.
came up with that idea also because, like, in the military, and I remember, if I would even sneeze or feel down, you go to medical, and they give you the whole day off to get better, and they give you the medicine and everything, because they don't want you sick on the job. So, like what Michael Wang said, we know that a healthy workforce makes for a stronger company, and the military is a big good example of it. Because I remember getting sick and then telling me, go back, rest. The whole day, even if you're sneezing.
And you really needed it too, didn't you?
Yeah, of course.
I bet you did.
Yeah. I want to pick this topic up again, so we're going to have another one on this. But I want to go into real quick the results. We're a week away from our primary election that we just had. Okay, I want to start with Manny. Manny, results. What do you think today? Byron Donalds picked Brian Avila as his lieutenant governor. Okay, give me on that. What do you think of the results? Are you happy with them? Do you think it could have done better? Talk to me.
Byron Donalds picking Brian Avila is the quintessential rot in the Republican Party in Florida. But they have a plan, a blueprint. Lopez Cantera, Nunez, now Brian Avila, right? But it's a rot that they're using again and again. So I don't have much to say about that. I mean, it's the same song and dance. The primaries. It is, to a certain extent, disheartening how communities are so disinformed. Now, I'm in the political space. It's my job to inform them, right? Unfortunately, and I wish it wasn't so because of Citizens United, money is an issue. In Congressional District 20, we're fighting Republicans all over the country on gerrymandering and taking people of color's seat away. And it happened within our party. And also the selfishness of other candidates. But my whole view of our primary system is, once we get past them, we got to get past them. Because I will take a flawed Democrat that I disagree with, because I know in principle he has my 80-20 rule. In Florida, 30 plus years of failed policies, property insurance, car insurance, home prices, name 100 other things. And right now in Florida, if we don't make a course correction, we're going to start seeing that negative migration that we're starting to see now in our county.
Yeah, we are seeing it already.
Yeah, some of it is about immigration, but this is something we must tackle. And for the viewers, don't vote against your interests. Don't vote against your interests, because what's happening is they're giving you these same tropes, the same recycled messages to keep you scared, to keep you afraid of thinking for yourself. So you're running for a congressional seat where I live in, right? And I admire that you're always trying to listen, right? Because, yeah, we might have some ideas, right? But the community is asking for a certain thing, and if we don't, give them what they want,
Find someone else.
Find someone else. Hopefully
As
they'll
we
find.
should find someone
Hopefully they'll
else.
find Phil Ehr for Carlos Giménez. But that's my thought.
Phil,
All right.
talk to me.
So
And also
One-
add how you
Sure.
feel the primary will affect your general election.
okay. So let's talk about Byron Donalds and Brian Avila. One party rule in the state of Florida can't be more. That's a communist way of going about government. One party rule. We don't want that. That's a socialist way of going about government, as socialism is applied in our hemisphere. We don't want any of that. So the voters, if we want to tackle the corruption, tackle the group think, we need to change course. And so I wholeheartedly recommend that voters take a look at where we are as a state and change course. I'm running for the federal legislature. It's called Congress. And the same thing. We've got a country that has gone off the rails and and we're paying the price at the gas pump and the grocery store and our bills, and 1 week away or one paycheck away is a term that really means something here in South Florida. So yes, we've got to move away from that. So you don't have much to say about the Republican ticket for governor. Well, right. It is not. It is more ideologically driven garbage.
There are no new ideas.
And we need to have the breath of fresh air that would come from the Jolly Graham ticket and other parts of the legislature. We have super majorities in the Florida House and the Florida Senate. That needs to change too, to get us back to some roots, protect our environment, protect the quality of life, and give people renewed, real hope to get on the housing ladder, to get the American dream real in their lives. I knock on so many doors where I'm seeing multiple families or intergenerational families living together, not by choice and not by spacious accommodation, because they have to, because housing costs are so high. So that's my take on the state ballot. You asked about the primary in general and how it's going to affect what specific. Just overall, we've had the primary, and we've had in my district confirmation that my campaign is on the right track for connecting with everybody, with people who are struggling financially, people who want to preserve our Everglades, preserve the Florida Bay and the coastline, have a responsible way to develop and not overdevelop, to have somebody stand up against the correlation between developer contributions to politicians at county commissions and their decisions. That's got to be shown the light of sunshine, the famous Florida sunshine, and be stomped out. We've got so many things wrong, but the primary that we need to change, that's changing the course of our country, the war, the trade wars, all of that. So the primary has teed up the general election. I'm really excited to be in the general election to combat Carlos Giménez, who is running scared. He's standing up social media that he's had dormant for a long time because of the election. He is making mistakes on foreign policy, of talking about Nicaragua being expelled from a free trade agreement. Well, guess what? He didn't understand the mechanics of that treaty. So he's just wrong. He's been corrected by professors and yours truly. So here we go.
Before we close it out, I want to say my part.
Yep.
I was excited. It was kind of not difficult, but I was surprised that the state didn't vote for some of the veterans, which I thought maybe, because, you hear across the street how people are always said about veterans.
Right.
And all three of us here are veterans, Navy veterans, and stuff like that. I really thought because they were veterans, maybe they were going to do it better than what they did. They didn't. That kind of surprised me. I'm excited that Angie is on a ticket. I think she's going to excite our base, and I say ours because I am affiliated in the Democratic group. Again, I am not a socialist, okay? And I don't believe in that either. I was born in Ecuador, and there they have socialist stuff, obviously, because, and like Melba said, those countries, the socialists there is not what is here at all. So people, please stay away from the label. Don't worry about the label. We're going into general election. Like Manny said, we have priorities that we need to talk about, and we need to consider our candidates on what they're going to do as far as fixing our problems now in housing, and why the gas is so high, and why food is so high.
Right.
Our insurance. I mean, that's a topic that has been on for the last 3 years, and for some reason they killed it, and it hasn't gone down. I just got my insurance bill again, and it has not gone down, Manny. Okay, so ask yourself. Forget about party. Forget about labels. Has your bills gotten cheaper? Has your life gotten any better? That's what you need to start talking about now. I'm excited for the election coming up. I am excited because we live in a democratic country. So no matter what happens at the end of the day, I love this country. I fought for this country. Like I said, I'm a Navy veteran, just as you guys are. I'm, like Manny says, please do not vote against your own interest. To see what's going on, get involved. I wish you the best of luck, Phil. I'm excited for you to be there also. So to close out, Manny, let's close this out. What do you got to say? Last words?
I want to talk about Stronger Miami. Stronger Miami right now is back to the people. Stronger Miami is trying to increase the commission in the city of Miami from 5 to 9, and move the elections to even years. So not 10,000 people are voting for elected officials in the city of Miami that have 500,000 folks, or almost 500,000 people. So please go to strongermiami.org to take a look at how we're going to go directly to the people to get this on the ballot.
There you go. Phil?
And I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to speak with you, Manny, again, and Johnny. And for the audience, go to ehrforcongress.us. That's EHRFOR Congress.us. We are recruiting volunteers to help us knock on doors, to help us make phone calls, and of course for contributions of financial, because every dollar allows us to connect more deeply and broadly across the 28th congressional district, and we are winning. I am your change candidate, and I appreciate that you want change also. So let's get together and deliver the change on all of the practical aspects of life, the quality, the costs, the integrity that we all deserve from our government.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here in front of everyone and bringing you news, bringing you information that is much needed. So here you have Stronger Miami. Look into it. They're doing great things. We need a stronger Miami, period. So, Manny, thank you for doing that. Got Phil Ehr for Congress. Look him up. See what's going on. And to any candidate, anybody, you have something, call me. Let's get you on the show. Let's talk about this, because that's what this is about. Bringing information to everybody, okay? I don't discriminate anybody. Republican want to come on down. MPA, Democrat, come on down. Let's talk, because every issue is important. We are, at the end of the day, we're neighbors. We're people who live in Miami. We need to make a stronger Miami. Thank you, everybody. See you next Tuesday. Be safe. Have a great weekend.